Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commanders Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, well, we have the tier rankings for the Modern Horizons 3 and the Modern Horizons 3 Commander Precons, which is kind of an oxymoron because it's modern cards, but they're for Commander. But that's not a discussion for this episode. Anyways, there are 32 total Commanders that are brand new from the set and from the Precons, and now I'm going to be telling you how they are ranked from the S tier all the way down to the D tier. What is the best? What is the worst? All are my opinion, and you might disagree, and that's okay. Let's jump into it. So, we're just going to be going based off of mana value. Thank you, Moxfield, and thank you to your maker for existing. You make this possible. Grist, Voracious, Larvae, a 1/2 insect with Death Touch that costs a single green mana. And if that was all it did, this would be a terrible commander that would probably be in the D tier, though it might not be compared to some of the other ones. Regardless, whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast from your graveyard, you may pay a single green mana. If you do exile Grist, the return to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, and it's a flip walker, it flips over into Grist the Plague Swarm. At 3, starting loyalty, +1, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then mill 2 cards. Put a Death Touch counter on it. The token. It was a black card milled this way. -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. And -6, for each creature card in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of it, except a 1/1 black and green insect. Here's the thing about this one. It does take some effort to actually flip it, but when you do, if you can get it to that point with that -6, you can win the game just on one activation. Like this, again, it's making a creature token copy of the creature, so you are getting, I mean, like an ETB. You can get like a massive ETB. I guess an example I'd bring up is like, oh, yeah, if you make a creature token copy of, I mean, Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, you probably just win. If you just, reanimate your entire graveyard in a way as 1/1 insects, you probably just win if you get a creature token copy of Gary, because some of you there might not know, but creature token copies of creatures actually do have their mana values and such. So, yeah, you will just drain all your opponents and they lose. Also, there's other combos, of course, between two creatures that could just combo right away and you win as well. So, yes, essentially, this is a commander that does take some setup, though not all that much, really. Once you flip it, you could just win. I mean, doubling season, I guess those kind of things as well could get you there for that activation right away. It does require setup, I will say. It's definitely not the best. It's definitely not the worst out of everything in this set. So, Grist, you are a B-tier commander. Let's read the middle of the road. And I do reserve the right to change these as we go. So, my apologies if I end up changing some of them, but that's just how it's going to work. Tamiyo, Inquisitive Student. A 0/3 Moonfolk Wizard with flying for a single blue mana. When it attacks, investigate. So you get a clue. Cool. When you draw your third card in a turn, exile the return her to the battlefield, transformed under ours control. Flips over into Tamiyo, Seasoned Scholar. 2 starting loyalty, +2. Until your next turn, whenever creature attacks you or planeswalker you control, it gets slightly smaller. -1, -0. -3, return target in-sorcerer card from your graveyard to your hand. If it's green card, add 1 mana of any color. Cool. -7 draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library, rounded up. You get an emblem with your maximum hand size. This one, again, yes, you do have access to, again, say, doubling season, which is a factor when it comes to these kind of commanders. Again, planeswalker commanders. You would only get to 4. I mean, you really want to be able to get to 7, obviously, as quick as possible to be able to take advantage of that. That is not necessarily a win condition like Grist is, in my opinion. It's not as easy to set up. Now, obviously, you could if you've got, like, that one enchantment that's like, hey, whenever you draw a card, each opponent, like, mills 2 cards. Or you have, like, Psychosis Crawler in play, which drains your opponents whenever you're drawing cards, too. Sure, those are ways to win. That being said, I mean, it's also, not, I wouldn't say incredibly easy to win, but yeah, you've got a giant advantage if you've got half your library in a maximum hand size, and that's impossible to actually, get rid of that emblem. I believe it is, actually. So this is easy to flip, easier to flip than Grist, let's say, but its potential to win is less. Tamiyo, Seasoned Scholar / Inquisitive Student, I am throwing you in the C tier. You're definitely not terrible, but you're definitely not up there. Ajani, Nacatl, Pariah, a cat warrior, a 1/2 for 1 and a white, enters the battlefield, you get a 2/1 cat token. Yay! Whenever one or more cats you control die, Ajani's mad, and you exile Ajani. They return to the battlefield, transformed under his control, you flip it over, and it is Ajani, Nacatl Avenger. But not one of the Avengers from, the movies. Just this Avenger. Anyways, 3 starting loyalty, legendary planeswalker Ajani. +2, get a counter on each cat you control. 0, get a cat 1. When you do, if you control a red permanent other than Ajani, it deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. Any target is the key there. -4, each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifice the rest. If that hit lands, this would be, I mean, maybe S tier. Because you'd be like, oh, I mean, it'd probably be S tier. It would definitely be S tier. You can just keep wiping lands out. Yeah. This is not. It is a semi-repeatable board wipe. You do have to actually get an extra counter on this one. You are not in doubling season territory with this one. Fortunately for many players, unfortunately for you, it is more like Cat Tribal. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not the worst among the commanders, but Ajani, again, you are joining Tamiyo, your old friend in the C tier. Moving on. Kudo, King Among Bears. Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. A 2/2 bear for 2 mana in Celestia. Other creatures have base power counted as 2/2s and are bears that issue other types. This is disgusting, gross, mean, and amazing all at the same time. And you might not think it's mean when you first see it, but yeah, this affects everyone's creatures, not just your own. So, hey, your deck with Kudo might be built around making little 1/1s. Just a ton of little 1/1s, or like even 0/1 plants, and all of a sudden, like, no, those are bears instead. They're 2/2s. Yay. So you're getting extra benefits. You are getting extra pump. It's like having an Anthem in play for your tiny little creatures. And your opponents didn't build around that, most likely. So their commander that's like, I'm a 10/10 dragon. And you're like, no, you're not. You're a 2/2 bear. That's also a dragon. And it's like, I'm a tiny little bear dragon. This can be brutal. This can be effective. And of course, hey, Kudo's best friend is, guess what? Alish Norn, the original. All your opponent's creatures die. Yay for you. So yeah, this can be a brutal commander where, again, just a single Anthem in play makes it so that all of your creatures are more powerful than your opponent's creatures. Not counting, of course, yes, I know, if they've got counters on their creatures or if they've got anthems too, sure, but you built your entire deck around this, you're going to have more effective ways to do that, in ways, again, like Elish Norn, to take your opponent's creatures out. Kudo is a disgusting, gross, low-to-the-ground bear of a commander. I'm going with A tier right here. Next up, not quite there. Philia, Exuberant Shepherd, a 2/2 legendary creature dog with flash that costs 1 and a white. Whenever it attacks, exile up to one other target non-land permanent at the beginning of the next end step. Turn the card to the battlefield under its own control. If it enters under your control, get a counter on Philia. I don't need to really discuss this too much. This is literally just a very terrible D tier commander. It's adorable, but it is D tier for dog. Yeah, you get to blink one thing. Cool, good for you. And if you blinked one of your things, you get a counter on it. Cool, good for you. Not good. Very bad. There is one in this entire list that will probably be lower than that, but we don't have an F tier. But I'll probably tell you that it's D-, basically F. Next up, Ral, Moonsong Mage, and another Flip Walker, a 1/3 human wizard that costs 1 and a red. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's quite nice for a low-to-the-ground body. Whenever you cast an sorcery spell during your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, it deals 1 damage to you. Ow! If you win the flip, you may exile Ral, and you do, turn the battlefield transformed under its control. The funny thing is, it literally could happen, very unlikely, but you could cast 40 spells and then never actually get to flip this and take yourself out. That'd be hilarious. But it flips over into Ral Leyline Prodigy. Hilarious for everyone. 2, starting loyalty. Ral enters the battlefield with additional loyalty counter on him for each instant source spell you've cast this turn. So the more you cast, the crazier things get. +1 to your next turn. Instant source spells cost 1 less to cast. -2, 2 damage by you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Draw a card if you control a blue permanent other than Ral. -8, exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may cast instant source spells from among this turn without paying their mana cost. This is a spicy commander. This is, hey, the way I would build around it is cast as many as you can in a single turn, essentially. Cast a ton of instant sorceries. Set yourself up to be able to just activate that right away. That ultimate ability. I mean, that doesn't guarantee you win the game, though, unless you have also at the same time set the top of your library, which is unlikely. It is cool, it is effective, it is efficient. There are a ton of incredibly powerful commanders in this set. Yeah, you are a D tier commander, in my opinion, Ral. You are very cool, but you take a lot of setup. Moving on. Sorin of House Markov, a 1/4 human noble with lifelink for 1 and a black with Extort. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, exile Sorin, then return to the battlefield transformed or zone's control. This is the easiest of every single one of them to flip. You literally cast one spell, then you pay either a white or a black mana, and then all of a sudden you gain 3 life because you're playing Commander, you've got 3 opponents. I guess I should say, if you're not playing against 3 opponents, it's not the easiest to flip, but it's still incredibly easy. There's other life gain effects. Moving on, it flips over into Sorin Ravenous Neonate, a 3 starting loyalty Sorin with Extort, +2 make a food token. Yay! -1 sword deals damage equal to the amount of life you gain this turn to any target. -6 gain 12 target creature. It becomes a vampire dish of other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control a white permanent other than that creature or Sorin. This is one where the actual ultimate is not as good as the actual middle ability, in my opinion. That's not what you're going to build around most likely. What you can do, and again, kind of like Grist, just like win out of nowhere, this might not win you the game right away, but it will just take out an opponent, because there are cards out there that either life swap, or ones that actually just gain you double life, like Beacon of Immortality. I think that's the one that just doubles your life total. If you've got ways to gain more life than someone else has in a turn, they're gone. They are gone. So yes, flipping this is incredibly easy, and you can flip into a scenario where you one-shot KO someone. This is, in my opinion, it does require some setup, a B tier commander. Moving on to a non-flip walker with Azlask the Swelling Scourge, a 2/2 Eldrazi for just 3 mana. What could go wrong? Whenever it or other colorless creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. Lovely. And also, by the way, pay Wooburg. Creatures you control get +X until after turn X is the number of experience counters you have. Oh, and by the way, signs and spawns you control gain indestructible and Annihilator 1 until end of turn. Did it need that? No, but they have it. This is a disgusting, gross commander. This is just disturbing that this is an actual commander. This says, hey, Annihilator is here and it's here to stay. I really don't need to do anything else. I don't need that pump effect. That +X does not really matter at all. What I care about is getting a lot of spawns and scions in play, then activating this maybe once, maybe twice, because Annihilator stacks, and all of a sudden my army says, hey, when I attack you, you're sacrificing everything. On this little 3 mana commander, that's 5 colors, so it gives you access to everything that you need. And by the way, if you really want to grow your experience counters, you can. You've got proliferate effects as well to make your army bigger. So sure, you can maybe put your opponents out of their misery after you take all their things and make them sacrifice them. And then maybe have it that betrays and play probably too, and then steal their things too. Or Turgrid. Yes, this is a disgusting commander. It is one that probably would be S tier in many scenarios, but I know that there's some coming up here in a little bit that are just a bit quicker. And yeah, an A tier commander, in my opinion, would probably be S tier in any other set out there. But again, Modern Horizons is very pushed. Eladamri, Korvek Doll, a 3/3 elf warrior for 3 mana in green. You move the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells to the top of your library. Pay a single green mana, tap 2 untap creature you control. Reveal a card in your hand on the top card of your library. Reveal a creature card this way. Put on the battlefield. So if you reveal a creature card this way, put on the battlefield. Activate only during your turn. Yeah, this is, hey, do you want Elvish Piper but on a better commander? Yes, there you go. I guess Elvis Piper's on a commander. That didn't really make sense. You know what I mean? Cheat things into play. Oh, and by the way, you get access to the top of your library. All you need to do is get some low-to-the-ground creatures out very, very quickly, which is very, very easy to do with this kind of a commander. You're like, oh, okay, Land of Werewolves turn 1, turn 2, Eladamri, turn 3, play 1 more creature, activate this. Oh, I have a Blightsteel in my hand or on the top of my library. Someone's going to get taken out pretty quickly in this game. And also, of course, you've got access to cards like Sylvan Tutor, ways to get creatures on top of your library and set yourself up. This is a pushed commander, in my opinion. Yes, it is in monocolor, and that's the only saving grace to this commander where it does limit it. That's why this is kind of, in my opinion, like a B+, A- commander. It is very pushed. I'm thinking it needs to go in A, though. I'm going to be putting this one. Oh, it's so tough, but you know what? We're going to throw this one in A for now. I might move it down to the B tier. It is kind of like an A- B+. Moving on. Nadu, Winged Wisdom. All right, I'm just going to throw this one up there really quick, and then I'll discuss it. This is an S tier commander. This is a commander where players think they're pretty clever when they're doing something, and what you're doing is a bit too easy once you figure out the trick to it. Nadu, Winged Wisdom, a 3/4 bird wizard for 3 mana in Simic. Flying creatures you control have whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability. That's the key here. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put it in your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, this is limited, right? This has to be limited. It says twice each turn. Here's the thing. That's per creature. That's not just like, oh, this only happens twice each turn no matter what. No, if you've got 10 creatures in play, this can happen 20 times. If you've got 5 creatures in play, still 10 times. And also you might have ways that, like, you know, oh, you're in landfall synergies, right, essentially? So, hey, do you have like Zendikar's Royal in play or Rampaging Baloths or any way to make a creature token when a land comes into play? Cool! You get to make more creatures every single time you get that land to play off the top of your library while you are ramping. And again, those lands come to play untapped. And if you're not ramping, you're getting cards in your hand. Oh, and here's why this is S tier commander. Because there are 0 mana activated abilities that can target. There are multiple equipment that do that quite easily, quite effectively. So essentially you just say, oh, I've got Lightning Greaves in play. Oh, and I got 10 creatures. Okay, I move it from this creature to 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 this creature until you've done it every single time, up to twice each turn for each creature. Oh, it's limited. Oh, okay, well, then you just put in 10 lands into play and drew 10 cards, and it's turn 5. Yeah, this is absurd. This is crazy. This is absurd amounts of ramp and card advantage that is very not limited. That can also go infinite quite easily and is quite broken. I guess there's a limited threshold to that as well, but like, you know, like Ornithopter plus Cowardice plus any kind of thing that can actually target it infinitely, like, again, a Lightning Greaves. There you go. You go infinite with it. You get your entire library either in your hand or in play. You can do some crazy things with Nadu. Moving on, Omo, Queen of Vesuva, a 1/5 shapeshifter, noble for 2 in a Simic color. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, put everything counter up to 1 target land, up to 1 target creature. Every land with everything counter on it is every land type, just other types. Every non-land creature with everything counter on it is every creature type. This is a very interesting commander, a very unique commander. What it is not is a very powerful commander, in my opinion. This is one of those that's like, it's not as weak as the D tier that I've already established so far with that dog. It is not. You can do some shapeshifter, you know, changeling kind of tribal things. You can say, okay, I've got all the different lords deck and do some crazy things with that. You can take advantage of certain kinds of land types. So there are some really cool things you can do with it. It's not D tier, but it is most definitely solidly in the C tier, maybe even like a C-. Moving on. Pearl Ear Imperial Advisor, a 3/4 Fox Advisor for 3 mana in white. No offense, mono white, the weakest color out of all the color combinations. I mean, I guess technically colorless, but kind of not, actually. Lifelink, enchantment spells you cast have affinity for auras. Whenever you cast an aura spell that targets a modified permanent you control, draw a card. The 2 weaknesses in mono white, and yes, they are still weaknesses in my opinion, are card draw as well as ramp. This deals with both of them in flying colors. It is specific, though, that you need your deck to be like all auras. Not all auras, but many auras to take advantage of this. But yes, being able to cantrip with auras and being able to cast your auras for nearly free, probably just a single white mana each time, or 2 if there's 2 pips. Yes, you can do some crazy things with this. It is limited because it is mono white, but yeah, a lot of cost reduction, a lot of card draw. We're going to go with a B tier commander. Moving on, Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury, a 6/6 Elder Giant for 3 mana. Enters the battlefield, sacrifice unless it escaped. Enters the battlefield or attacks, deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. You can escape it by paying red, white, and exiling 5 other cards from your graveyard. So this can get around commander attacks in a way. You are in red, so you've got plenty of ways to wheel and get a lot of things into your graveyard, which can be great, so you can keep that cost down to just 4 mana each time. That being said, you were just lightning helixing every single time. Is that the most powerful thing in the world? No, not in a format where instead of going up against 20 life total for your opponent, you're going up against 120 life total for your opponents combined. That being said, of course, you have damage doublers, damage triplers, life gain synergies that you can build in as well for a commander that can escape commander attacks. Hey, a C tier commander. Moving on. 6. I love the design of this one. A 2/4 Tree Folk with reach for 3 mana in green. Whenever it attacks, mill 3 cards, put a land card from among them into your hand. Cool. But more importantly, though, as long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace, meaning that you can recast them by discarding a land and then getting them back out. Here's the problem, though. You are limited to just mono green. Now, mono green is, no offense, mono white, much better than that. It's probably one of the more, better mono colors to be in, essentially. That being said, to actually get some card advantage out of this commander when it comes to attacking, you need to send it into danger to do so. But yes, if you can fill up your graveyard, you can get access to that secondary hand, which can be a lot. Again, essentially, if you are milling yourself, you are kind of drawing cards in a way. So this is a pretty powerful effect, giving you access to, again, your entire graveyard, which, of course, if you have certain things like, let's say, Sakura Tribe Elder, you're like, okay, I play that. Okay, I sacrifice that. Okay, I have land in my hand. I'll discard that. I'll replay it. I'll sacrifice that. You can get him some good loops and get a lot of value out of this. Again, things that can self-sacrifice, things that want to be sacrificed. You get a lot of value out of something like this. So it does require some setup, but I'm going to go with a B tier commander. Moving on, Ashling Flame Dancer, a 4/4 Elemental Shaman for 4 mana in red. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant spell, discard a card, then draw a card. The second time this ability is resolved this turn, Ashling Flame Dancer deals 2 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. The third time, add red, 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 red. I think I said that right, 4 red. But basically, you are able to rummage first. Then you are also able to deal a little bit of damage to your opponent's creatures, a mini board wipe in a way. But if you've got damage doublers, damage triplers, it obviously can be much bigger than that. And also, you've got a way to make mana and store mana. It is an interesting commander for sure. It can give you a lot of value throughout the game. It does require you to actually, have a lot of spells to be cast, but yes, you can use that to, your advantage. Cast a lot of spells, use damage doublers, use damage triplers, store up a bunch of mana, and then maybe have a massive final effect to take out your opponents. I do think that I am maybe underrating this one, but I'm going to throw it in the C tier. I think it's like a C plus B minus commander. Kaith, famed mechanist, or Kath, I don't know. Mechanist. I just said that entire thing wrong. I'm thrown off now, but here we go. A 3/3 Dwarf Artificer for 4 mana in Jeskai. Fabricate 1. Okay. Other non-token creatures you control have Fabricate 1. 2, tap, choose 1, populate, proliferate. That last part does not matter in my evaluation. Does not matter. You know why? Because here's the thing. Fabricate 1 plus persist equals creature comes back. And just comes back again, and comes back again, and comes back again. This is basically giving your creatures that have persist undying as well. So essentially, when they come back into play, and yes, this does happen, if they have a +1 counter and a -1 counter, back when I started playing Magic long time ago, those both just stayed on the creature. And you're like, well, this is confusing, but okay, +1, -1, all right, it's canceled out, but they're still on there. No, they cancel out these days. They are both gone. Therefore, if you have a persist creature and a sacrifice outlet in play, which you have many great ones like Goblin Bombardment or Altar of Dementia or a lot of other ones, you've got plenty of ways to take your opponents out. You've got plenty of great tutors to go get those things. You've got ways to get those creatures that do have persist into play. Do so and just win. This is a commander that I evaluate based off of that. Yeah, you can build this in a different way, but the most powerful build around this one is Broken Persist. And yeah, this is one where, okay, this is like A+, S-, but I'm going to throw up in the S- tier. It is not quite to our Nadu. I believe that's the name of the bird, right? Nadu. But yes, it is not quite up there, but it is around the same territory. The broken things that you can do that takes very little setup for you to actually do this. You need a free sacrifice outlet, which there are many that you can utilize, and then you need 1 persist creature, and all of a sudden you win. You just win. The game is over. Next up, Corum the Undertaker, a 0/5 human warrior for 4 mana in Jund. +X+0 greatest power among creature cards in all graveyards. Whenever it attacks, each player mills a card. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a spell from among cards in graveyards that are put there from libraries this turn. So, first of all, let's evaluate that last part. That is card advantage, which is amazing if you've got even a very simple card like Ghoul Caller's Bell. Lovely. Again, put in graveyards from anywhere, or from libraries, I should say, but anyone's graveyards. So you get access to those things. You get additional land drops. You get to cast spells. Lovely. And sure, when you attack, you get to mill 1 card as well. Good for you! And of course, there's ways to mill a lot more than that more quickly. That being said, perhaps the more potent part of this is actually that you can very easily, very quickly, very efficiently turn your commander into a one-shot KO. because you can actually just entomb a card from your library into your graveyard that is a creature that has an absurd amount of power. I'm talking about the kind of power that's like Lord of Extinction. It's like, every graveyard is huge and I am massive. And yes, it's counting its power from the graveyard like that. So this can just hit for a one-shot commander KO quite quickly. Does require you to get the right cards to do so, but you are in not mono black. You're in black as well, so you've got tutor effects. Yeah, you can do some crazy things with this one. I am going to say this is an A-tier commander in my opinion. Moving on, Genku Future Shaper, 8/2/5 Moonfolk Wizard, 4/4 mana in Azorius. Genku says, whenever another non-token permanent you control leaves the battlefield, choose one that has been chosen this turn, create a creature token with those characteristics. 2/2 Fox of Vigilance, 1/2 Moonfolk with flying, 1/1 Rat with lifelink. You can pay 5 mana with Azorius colors in there. Put a counter on each creature control. Okay, blinking works really well with this. And actually, again, it says like, essentially you choose a different one, right? But if you keep blinking this along with those other, creatures that you have, not the creature tokens, then you get to reset it, you can do it again. So mass blink effects like Eerie Interlude can be great. You're setting yourself up with a creature army. Are there more powerful things to do out there? Yes. Also, Training Grounds can be great with that other ability, but yeah, you're not really going to count on that too much versus like other kinds of anthems and such. Throw you in the C tier. The C tier is getting quite crowded, but again, like the D tier is just a different level of tier. Yogi. Yoti? Goodness gracious, I almost said Yogi. Jyoti? No idea. Joti? Let's go Joti. Moag Ancient. A 2/4 elemental for 4 mana in Simic. Enters the battlefield, creating 1/1 green forest dryad land creature token for each time you cast your commander for the command zone this game. Beginning of each combat, land creature control get +X/+X until end turn. Rex is Joti's power. Obviously, if you're creating a bunch of land creatures outside the ones that you just created with commander, great. You can also find ways to maybe like sacrifice your commander, recast, etc. The one downside to land creatures and those forest dryads being always land creatures is that they are very susceptible to board wipes as well. So, a commander that does ramp you, but in a more risky way than maybe, say, other commanders, yeah, you've got like a finisher with it too by pumping its own power to pump all the other powers too. Still, it is quite limited in what it does, in my opinion. Maybe I'm underrating this one, but to me, the C tier is getting a little bit more crowded as well with this one. Moving on, Roshin Roaring Prophet, a 4/4 giant shaman for 4 mana in Gruul. When it enters the battlefield, mill 6 cards, and may put a card with X in its mana cost among them into your hand. Tap, reveal any number of cards with X in their mana cost in your hand. Add 2 colors for each card revealed this way. Spend its mana only cast on costs that contain X. This is a little bit of card advantage there. You can't really use and abuse that too easily in this color combination. If you had blue or you had white, you could much more easily use and abuse it with blink effects. But again, since it's an ETB, you don't have too many ways to do that. You can like make temporary token copies of this that will die, thanks to the legend rule, with like Twin Flame and stuff like that in red. But yeah, not too many ways to actually use and abuse this effect to get some cards in your hand. That being said, this can tap for a decent amount of mana, but it is variable and dependent on your hand. You've got a good amount of potential once you really get things set up, once you get things going, casting some giant spells for a lot, having some untap effects that you can actually untap this and do it again and again and again. But the more untap effects you have, which are usually not X spells, so I really can't think of too many X spells that do that, especially in these colors, you are going to have less cards to actually get that mana from. So let's go with a C tier commander. This might be my fullest C tier of all time. Satya, Aether Flux Genius, a 3/5 human artificer with menace and haste for 4 mana in Jeskai. Whenever it attacks, create a tap that attacking token that's copied up to one other target non-token creature you control. You get 2 energy at the beginning of your next end step. Sacrifice that token unless you pay an equal amount of energy to its mana value. I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. This one essentially lets you create token copies of creatures and eventually keep them as well. It's actually not that hard to keep those copies around because even if you're just doing this on attack, which yes, you do have to send this commander into danger. It should be able to survive pretty early though because that menace and that haste will swing at the opponent that doesn't have 2 creatures in play or whatnot, or isn't willing to block with 2 creatures. Later on, you need other ways to get this through, which there are plenty of ways to do so. That being said, once you start getting energy, you just need to proliferate and get more and more and more and more energy, and there's plenty of great ways to do so. And also now there's a lot of other energy things too. Some of them aren't the most powerful things, but there are certain ones that you can include, obviously, to do that. The thing that you'd focus on with this commander, though, is ETBs, LTBs, ways to take advantage of creating tokens that are attacking that actually can make an impact. So yes, utilizing again ETBs kind of like a blink effect deck would do, and of course you include blinks as well with this kind of a commander. This one, maybe I'm overestimating just a little bit. Maybe it's because there's so many in the C tier right now that might be impacting my decision. You do have 3 colors though as well. I'm going to throw you in the B tier, though I really think I should throw you in the C tier. You're based like a C+, B- in my opinion, but we'll keep you there for now. Necrobloom, a 2/7 plant for 4 mana in Abzan colors. Landfall, whenever land is battlefield under your control, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. Just go wide on lands, land names, land types, and all of a sudden you make a bunch of zombies. Land cards in your graveyard have dredge too. Gross. Amazing. Lovely. This plus Get Rog Monster equals fun times for you because everything is basically what Dakmor salvage, which is lovely for you. Not for your opponents, but yeah, you can do some crazy things with this. This is a commander that can get out of control quite quickly, quite effectively. And again, there are certain weird combos that you can really utilize to make sure that you are drawing a lot of cards with this. Even certain combinations that are like, oh, okay, every single time a land hits the graveyard, I get one of these kinds of creature tokens. And then all of a sudden, I've got creature tokens in play, which I can sacrifice for value. You can have like an aristocrat style strategy too. And also when lands are coming to play, you're making tokens as well. So you can make an army, you can sacrifice them, you can drain opponents, you can go infinite, you can do a lot of things with this commander in 3 very, very powerful colors. Let's throw the Necrobloom into the B tier. Sorry, A tier. There we go. We got Arna, Sky Captain, 4/4, Human Knight, flying and lifelink, ward, discard a card for 5 mana in Esper. Whenever a modified creature control attacks, there'll be 9 of each kind of counter on it. Then for each non-token permanent attached to it, create a token's copy of that permanent attached to that creature. The exciting thing with this one, in my opinion, is that second part where it's like, okay, create a token that's a copy of that permanent attached to it. You can do some crazy cool things with it. Is the focus going to be that necessarily in the most powerful builds? Maybe not, because, yeah, just doubling up the number of counters on each of your creatures each time that you are actually attacking is pretty absurd. Kind of like Collodion Hydra in the command zone, but with 3 colors. That also has ward and flying and lifelink itself. This can get out of hand in absolutely no time at all. Get some counters on your creatures, swing, double. Next turn, swing, double. Maybe cast an extra turn spell, swing, double, swing, double. And yes, there are going to be certain things too that are like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I've got this really good equipment that can actually pump my creature a lot. I swing, I double that up as well. Yeah, you can do a lot of cool things with this one. I think this one also is pretty good. I don't think it's up to that A tier standard though, but you know what? Actually, I think it is. I think it get pretty crazy, out of control pretty quickly. Next up, Disa the Restless, a 5/6 human scout for 5 mana in Jund. Whenever a Lurgoyf permanent card is put in your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, put it onto the battlefield. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a Tarmogoyf token. This is pretty crazy. You are in black, so you have ways to, again, entomb creatures directly into your graveyard, which then go into play. That's quite gross. It is limited to Lurgoyfs, but also you do have Changelings. Maybe Masquerade Nexus could be in play as well. Do some crazy things with that. That does require a good amount of setup to do so. Lurgoyf, we did get some more support from this set, obviously, but is that enough to really ratchet this up? You could also just go really heavy into, again, hey, get creatures through. Again, 1 or more creatures dealt to a player. That does limit it. You can obviously use Double Strike and things like that to actually get more triggers. It is limited, though. I think overall, it is interesting. I think because Lurgoyfs are a little bit limited, I'm going to have to downplay this one just a little bit, though. We're going to be throwing you in the B tier. Don't hate me in the comments below. Moving on. Shalingar, Sire of Famine, a 6/6 Elder Demon for 5 mana in black. But it is an Orzhov commander. Flying, sacrifice other creature, create a blood token. If you sacrifice an Angelus Way, create a number of blood tokens equal to its toughness instead. Pay 3 Orzhov mana. Sacrifice 6 blood tokens. Return each creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. A finality counter on it. Those creatures are vampires, just other types. This does require some setup, but again, kind of like Grist, you can actually just basically reanimate your entire graveyard and win. It does require a decent amount of setup to do so, though, but yeah, you get a couple of angels in play most likely, and you can speed things up. There's other ways to make blood tokens as well, or yeah, just get enough creature fodder in play that you can sacrifice them to make 6 blood tokens, and then all of a sudden bring everything back for 3 mana. This seems like quite the powerful effect when you do pull it off properly. And like I should have mentioned earlier with Grist, there are certain cards that can just fill your entire graveyard up right away, like exchange your library with your graveyard. Morality Shift, I think, is the one. Regardless, you can do that, do some crazy things. This one's kind of like, to me, like a B+, A-. We're going to throw you in the B tier. Oh, moving on. Ululect, Fused Atrocity. Its mana is an atrocity. A 2/5 Eldrazi for, wait for it, colorless or a white, colorless or a blue, colorless or a black, colorless or a red, colorless or a green. That's a nightmare. Devoid. Whenever you cast an Eldrazi spell, you may pay colorless. If you do, copy all spells you control, then copy all or activate triggered abilities you control. Choose your targets for the copies. Do you have big Eldrazi that you want to copy and their abilities too? Cool, do that. Yep. This is Eldrazi is a very powerful creature type. If you have a lot of very powerful Eldrazi, you're going to be heavily motivated to get this into play and do some crazy things with it. Yes, some crazy and gross things as well. And sure, if you don't throw changelings in there, they're also Eldrazi, so keep that in mind. All 5 colors as well. Access, you are, in my opinion, an A tier commander. Though, compared to the other Eldrazi commander in that tier, I do think that you are A- versus A+. Moving on. This one is a D tier. That's all I'm going to say about that. I guess I should probably say it for people who haven't seen it. A 4 for a Goblin Wizard for 6 mana in red. When enters the battlefield, does 4 damage to any target. Grandeur, discard another card named Skoa Ember Mage. Sacrifice 2 mountains. It deals 4 damage to any target. Here's the problem. You can't just have a deck that has all Skoas. If you could, that'd be hilarious. But you can't. So in order to actually activate that ability, you have to go through a lot of hoops to do so. Like making a token copy of this, and then somehow getting one into your hand, like with a command beacon from the command zone, and then discarding it for just the payoff of 4 damage. Yeah, I mean, you can use damage doublers to increase that ETB damage and stuff like that, and triplers. It's a very bad commander. It wasn't designed to be a commander, I will say that. That being said, for the even playing field of this discussion, I'm considering all these as if they were designed to be commanders, so there you go. Comment below on that. Imskir Iron Eater. A 5/5 demon that costs 8 mana, but you're never going to pay that. If any for artifacts, enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life for X the number of artifacts you control, half the number of the artifacts you control, rounded down. So very likely, you can make this cost nearly nothing once you get things going. Again, treasures, yay! And also by paying 3 in a red, sacrifice an artifact, deals damage to the sacrifice artifact's mana value to any target. It does require setup, yes. Once you get things going, though, you can get absurd of artifacts in play. Then you can really play with some feigned death type effects where it's like, okay, I sacrificed my commander. Oh, no, it died. Oh, great, it's coming right back. I get that ETB again. Yes, you are losing life, but 1 life for 1 card you will do any day of the week. You got to be careful, though, because you don't want to, actually just do that. So you don't want to just keep losing all that life. That being said, that's quite nice. But yes, being able to get this commander out again and again and again can give you an absurd amount of card advantage. And sure, if you want to sacrifice some artifacts to ping damage to your opponent's faces, great. Use damage doublers, use damage triplers, and also lifelink. Lifelink's a thing with this one that can help it out a lot because then you can get that life back. So I think overall, it's a very interesting commander. It's probably like a B, maybe B+ type commander in my opinion. Harrogast Erupting Nullkite, a 6/6 Eldrazi dragon for 9, but it's got an emerge cost for a 6 red. When you cast a spell, you may exile your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. Flying. Each creature spell you cast has emerged. The emerge cost is equal to its mana cost. Essentially, yeah, this is going to be an emerge deck where you just like bring one creature out, then another creature out, then another creature out, then another creature out. And I'd really use and abuse some ETBs with that, some death triggers as well. You can also, obviously, when you get this in play, exile your hand, be like, I don't want my hand anymore, let's draw 3 cards. Cool. You can take advantage of that. Overall, it's an interesting commander. It's not all that powerful compared to all the other commanders, though, so I'm going to be throwing you in the C tier, which was, a bit quiet for a little bit. Anyways, moving on, Kozilek the Broken Reality. Let's see if it breaks the game. A 9/9 Eldrazi 4/9. When you cast a spell up to 2 target players, each manifests 2 cards from their hands. For each card manifest this way, you draw a card. Other colorless creatures you control get +3/+2. This is a commander, when you cast it, you are probably drawing 4 cards each time. It is on cast, though, not on ETB. It is also a massive pump effect to your team. Your colorless creatures, again, if it's a 1/1 servo, if it's a manifested creature, they all get a massive power boost. That being said, it is a heavy mana value creature, and maybe I'm underestimating this one. You're also limited to just colorless. Maybe I'm underestimating this one slightly, but compared to some of the other ones out there, I do think that this one is actually a B tier commander. My apologies. Cause like the broken reality, do not break me. Ulamog the Defiler, 7/7 Eldrazi for 10 mana. We cast a spell, target opponent exiles half their library, rounded up. Ward sacrifice 2 permanents, enters the battlefield with a number of counters on it equal to Grace by value among cards in exile. Ulamog is Annihilator, extra the number of counters on it. This commander is a one-shot KO on anyone every single time. Not because its power might be a one-shot KO, but it's going to have enough counters on it where its Annihilator is going to decimate a foe. Maybe not even, just with that, oh, okay, I exile off your library. You're probably going to hit something at least that costs like 5, 6. That's already absurd to have Annihilator 6. The only other Annihilator 6 is a banned card. This one is basically Annihilator 6. Also takes a lot to actually get taken out again with that Ward sacrifice 2 permanent. So if someone does get brave enough to try to do that, they better not hope that you can't stop that in some way. But also, of course, you've got ways to proliferate. You've got other ways to get counters on this. By getting those counters on this, you raise that Annihilator, and essentially on that first swing, again, which you might be able to do that right away with like a Lightning Greaves or whatnot, that player is just gone. Annihilator 10, Annihilator 12, whatever it is, that player sacrifices all their things, essentially, and their game is done. That being said, this is on a 10 mana commander. Because it is 10 mana, because it is in colors, it is limited. If this was a 5-color commander that costs less, which you'd think would be a joke, but Wizards has done crazier things like, it'd be great, It That Betrays, but in the command zone. Oh wait, that's not good enough. Only at 5 mana, and then on the backside of it, if you go infinite, you win! With like Torment of Hailfire! Oh, that's such a great idea! What should we call it? Turgid, God of Salt! Perfect! Okay, maybe not salt, but that's too obvious. Fright. Anyways, this is not a discussion on Turgid. Apparently turned into one. My apologies. Ulamog, you are an A-tier commander. Finally, Emrakul, the world anew. 12/12 Eldrazi for 12 mana. When you cast this spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls. Flying protection with spells and permanents that were cast this turn. Very hard to deal with. When it leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all creatures you control. Madness pays 6 colorless. This is a commander that as soon as you get this out, you steal the best army out there. Then, when another player builds a better army, you bounce this back to your hand, you have a way to discard it, and then you pay half the amount of mana you paid for the first time, and then essentially, you get to steal that army after having sacrificed the previous army that you stole. So players aren't going to be incentivized to build up armies. But if they don't, they're going to be gone because you've got the army that's the best each time. And also a 12/12 flyer that has protection from a lot of things. Okay, gross. Again, the only thing holding this one down from being an S-tier commander is the massive mana value on the get-go. Once it gets going, though, it's going to be hard to stop. This is an A-tier commander. So this is my final list. I might adjust things, but I think, Satya, you know what? I don't know. Should I adjust that one down? This is the one where it's like if there was like a B-, C+, I think that one would go down. There's probably some other ones in there too. That would just sticks out to me though. But yes, this, you know what? We're throwing you down. I'm sorry, Satya. Comment below if I made the wrong decision. There you go. Satya, you're down in the C tier. I think I feel pretty good about this one, though, and obviously I should have said that this one's actually not a D-tier commander. Skoa is actually a F-tier commander, but I don't have F-tiers. It is just below all that. That might not be fair to that dog, though. But yes, I think I feel pretty good about this right now. I think that it's at a good spot. Obviously, this is all based off of my own opinions, and your opinions might differ, and that is completely okay. Comment below with your thoughts on my picks, on my S-tier, which has 2, and I think one of them is probably going to be like Keith. I don't know if some players out there are going to think that that's that good, but yeah, I think that that's pretty good and can go pretty broken pretty easily, so that's up there. Regardless, comment below with your thoughts on all this. I love discussing that with you in the comments. Be like, oh, that's S-tier, that's not. Oh, this A-tier. Oh, goodness, you put that in the C. What are you thinking, Mitch? Let me know in the comments below, and of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.